I believe we are live. I believe we are live. It's 10:01 hours on May the 11th, 2025. Let me know if you can hear me and see me in the chat. Phil Latham seems like he's here. Let me look at this. We're in Rumble Studio today, so we'll see how this goes. It's coffee with Frankie time. Here's the coffee. I'm the Frankie. Let me know if you can hear me in the chat. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I have no indication from Rumble Studio about audio. So if you could let me know if all is okay in the chat, I would appreciate it. Harlan says, can see and hear you. All right, Harlan. Thank you very much. Good to know. It's Mother's Day. Let me know if you can hear this bell also. That'd be nice. It's Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. It's also rookie mini camp time. So we have rookies, we got tryout players, and we got, not much else going on. They're running around out there. Tryout players are trying to make the team, trying to catch the eye of the coaching staff. And we actually have a third Williams brother in the building. Giovanni Williams. You may not have heard of him. However, we got him. He's the brother of Quinnen and Quincy. He's in on a tryout basis. And, he's the 234th ranked linebacker by Dane Brugler. He's actually in The Beast, which is one of the reasons that Dane Brugler's publication called The Beast is so good. He has players such as Giovanni Williams in there, so you can get some information about him. He has him ranked 234th out of 289 linebackers. So, hey, maybe he can do something. But probably not. He went to an HBCU called Miles College. Ever hear of Miles College? Not too many people have heard of it. And so, there's that. Let me know if you can hear the bell. Jimmy Jets is here. Now, good to see you, Jimmy. Harlan's drinking blueberry coffee today, which is different for Harlan. Harlan's normally chock full of D's nuts. Phil Adams says bell 100%. All right, so this is new microphone. So what's going on technically? Because of course you want to know what's going on with the Frankie hardware, as everybody does. This is a new headset and microphone, so hopefully the audio is a little bit better. And if the bell's coming through, that's interesting. And we're also in Rumble Studio, but we're also on the backup laptop because we had laptop problems. So I think that other laptop I have might have to go back to the manufacturer, as a matter of fact, because I did a whole bunch of testing on it and whatever. But we're on the backup. So if we have a problem, that's probably why. But the bell is good. Rumble Studio is pretty good. Microphone is good. That microphone back there is excellent for the audiobooks. Now we just need to get this stupid laptop that I bought a while back, which is supposed to be top notch. Not top notch so much, so we got to work on that. But we're on the backup just in case anything happens. So that's what's going on technically with the old Frankie channel. JoJo's here. JoJo was a man from Tucson, Arizona. Get back, JoJo. He says, biggest thing was jersey numbers. We got some jersey numbers. Yeah, we had Jersey Gate. Mason Taylor for a second was number 46. Not exactly inspiring confidence in our tight end one. But then the next day he changed it to 85, which is good news, JoJo, because 85. The best 85 in New York Jets history was Wesley Walker, my favorite player. So it's good to see that maybe we'll have another great 85. That would be wonderful if we could get that going. Harlan says, I didn't hear of Giovanni Williams. Well, nobody did until we signed him to come in here as a tryout player. Now, I did look in the Beast, in the draft guide, to figure out what's going on with this Giovanni Williams, and he ran a 4.82. So that's that's not so good. So I was thinking maybe he could be a strong safety type. He played linebacker in college. And he's 5'10", 222 pounds or so. And I was thinking maybe he could be a strong safety type, perhaps. And, you know, I don't think so. Not with that speed. And he's not big. Basically, he's not big enough to be a linebacker in the NFL. He's not fast enough to be a safety. So I don't know where he fits in. Probably nowhere. But interesting story nonetheless. Jimmy Jet says Cumberland. Yeah, Cumberland was also 85, but he stunk. So we're not counting him. Wesley Walker was awesome, Jimmy. So no, we are not bowing down to Jeff Cumberland here on this show. Now, now the fact that we're on the backup laptop means I can't really do what I normally do, which is go over the news and show news items and things of that nature. So for this show today, Coffee with Frankie, for the time being, I think we'll just kind of keep it chit chat related. So, whatever you guys want to talk about, if anything, this might be a short show because Frankie's got to get his act together with the laptop and the technical and the hardware and this and that, So we're kind of limited. But we'll just open it up for chat, commentary, questions, see what you guys want to talk about. There's obviously not a lot going on in the NFL. The biggest story, of course, Derek Carr retired, medically retired. And I should say something that nobody's talking about. Here's one thing that Frankie will talk about that nobody will talk about. The these medical retirements. We've seen 3 big medical retirements in the past couple of weeks. One was Derek Carr, who's essentially medically retired. Another one, Jordan Travis, of course, with us, medically retired. Another one, Cam Bad Moon Rising out of Utah, that quarterback. He was a prospect and had a lot of injuries, spent a lot of time in college, and he finally had another injury, and he said, you know what, I'm out of here. Bad Moon out, he said. So Bad Moon Rising, I guess he took his NIL money and said, this isn't worth it. I'm medically retiring. Now, the aspect of this that's concerning, if I were the NFL, I'd be very concerned with as much money as goes around now. It's not like the old days where everybody needs to play. For example, Derek Carr earned over $200 million in his career. Derek Carr, $200 million. And these kids coming in make millions and millions in NIL money, so they have a lot of money in the bank. And one of the things the NFL needs to think about, what if what happened to Derek Carr happened to Patrick Mahomes? What if what happened to Derek Carr happened to Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or one of the big superstars or Max Crosby or one of the big superstars, Nick Bosa, in the league, and it kept happening, and these people are like, yeah, I'm going to medically retire. It's not worth it. That could be an existential risk for the NFL, and that is probably the one existential risk that the NFL does have. And so that is something to think about when we're thinking about these things. And if I were the NFL, I would pour lots and lots of money into research to prevent these things from happening. First thing they should do, of course, as we've talked about on this channel many times, move to all grass fields, reduce injuries by 30 to 40%. That's good. That would be a good first step. Then I would pour tons and tons of money into research for injury prevention. Whatever would come up, we want to be top notch preventing these injuries, because people want to see the superstars. They don't want to see just the played, and we know that because look at the UFL. Nobody watches the UFL. Think anybody's watching the UFL? No, they're not. So, and that's the same exact game, but with anybody who wants to watch. We want to watch these superstar players. So If you had certain things happen to your top-notch players, then you know you could have a problem. That's the one thing that could actually threaten the NFL's superiority among sports. And there's a lot of sports leagues that are popping up all over the place that could splinter your audience. There's pickleball leagues, there's women's baseball leagues, there's all sorts of leagues that could splinter your audience out, popping up. I think, so what the Savannah Bananas are doing is very interesting to me. I think they're showing a brand of baseball that's extremely exciting compared to the regular baseball, which is a snooze fest for the most part. Um, so, you know, um, I would if the NFL probably I don't know if they're thinking about it, the NFL and the NFLPA, because the NFL is a big giant gravy train for a lot of organizations, including itself, the NFLPA, and a lot of associated organizations, brands, all the players, all the former players. The NFL gravy train, funds a lot of things, and if it ever fell off the tracks, all those things are threatened. So all these people, all these smart people who are involved with this, if I were them, I would put a lot more effort into this. I would go to all grass fields, and then I would. That's an easy one. Yes, it costs money, but this is the one thing that could happen. I mean, you're seeing it. Jordan Travis, Cam Rising, Derek Carr, all within a very short period of time. So yeah, Jimmy says, I don't think so, Frankie. Well, I would disagree. I would say if you had, Patrick Mahomes go out, like it's already annoying. I would say the thing about it is you have to think about the market rather than just yourself. So I think there's a huge percent of the market that already hates all these injuries. There's two things that people hate about football is injuries and all the penalties. And the injuries are terrible. I mean, when the Jets lost Aaron Rodgers, were they really the Jets of 2023? Like we had a team, we had certain projections, and we were supposed to do certain things. But Aaron Rodgers gets injured for the whole year, and we're a totally different team. That's annoying. That's frustrating. And yeah, there's going to be a hardcore base of fans. It doesn't really matter. And there's also a huge chunk of fans who just root for the laundry, as they said on Seinfeld. And it doesn't matter who's wearing the jersey, they'll just root for it. It doesn't matter. But I think there's a big contingency of fans who would check out if, Mahomes and Allen and a bunch of superstars medically retired and the quality of the play went down. Now, the league would still exist, but it wouldn't be superior. It wouldn't necessarily be guaranteed to be superior. Let's put it that way. Where the chunk of the fan base would just start splintering off and be like, I'm going to watch basketball. I'm going to watch some of these new leagues. I'm going to watch, other things. And what you have to understand too is that ratings are the thing that drives the NFL really. If people stop watching on TV in huge numbers, people are always going to watch, but it's a matter of numbers, and the ratings have been going down, by the way. We talked about this in a video on this channel at some point in time. Maybe it was on a live stream where the ratings for the NFL have been going slightly down, and that's with the Swifties involved. So imagine the Swifties go away. For example, the Swifties are only here because of one thing, is because she's dating Travis Kelce. So if they break up, that's millions and millions of fans that you had and eyeballs and ratings and everything you had and all the merch sales and everything else that just goes away. One thing happens. Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift break up. Millions of fans go away. Millions of dollars bye-bye out the window. So that's just one example of a splintering of a fan base. And the ratings are going down with them and with them participating, with the Chiefs being involved and going to the Super Bowl and them dating and all. So what we're talking about is a splintering of a fan base that could, really threaten the NFL's superiority over all the other sports, because it really does reign supreme for the United States anyway. Globally, of course, soccer is more popular, but so I think it is existential for the NFL It's hard to see things in the future, Jimmy, I would say, but I'm pretty good at it. I'm pretty good at it. And if more and more of these dudes, because the other thing you have to understand is more and more of these dudes coming into the league with NIL money have millions of dollars in the bank already. That didn't used to be. So this is the beginning of a new phenomenon where guys are going to make these decisions more and more because they already have $5 or $10 million in the bank. They got their degree from NIL. Maybe they played 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe they got a second contract. Maybe they didn't. They got millions and millions of dollars in the bank. So if more and more of them just start making these decisions, like, look, hey, I put in my time, I got my millions. Why do I have to risk my health? Doesn't make any sense. And especially when you think about concussions. I mean, concussions is also a big issue and part of this. And they're making good progress on the helmets and things like that. They seem to be making pretty good progress there. But that's also a part of it as well. Do I really want to risk a life altering concussion? Look what happened to that wide receiver for the Texans last year. I mean, he basically blew up his knee at every kind of injury you could have on one play. At some point, some of these guys are going to say, I made my money. I'm good. Thank you. I don't want to risk my neck, for this. So I think it could be the beginning of something that's very, very troubling. So we'll have to see how it goes. But, of course, there'll always be the hardcore fans and stuff like that. So here's this comment. Okay. Jimmy Jets, I do like well, everybody likes it except for the people who have to install it. Harlan says the ratings can't keep going up forever. Well, Harlan, they think they can, and that's why they're doing international expansion, if you think about it. It's like the NFL has to find new fans. I mean, they're pretty much maxed out with men of a certain age in America, per se. So that's why the Swifties are important. They're trying to get females into the game. That's why flag football is important. Why do you think they're pushing flag football so hard? It's because they're trying to get more women into football any way they can. So that's one way to do it. The Swifties is another way to do it. And then that's one market that they're going after. And then, you know, then they can go after the international part of it. And we're seeing international expansion. So there's going to be way more international games this year. There's going to be a bunch of games in London. There's going to be one in Mexico, I think. Then there's going to be one in Germany. Then there's just going to be, and I think there's a game in Ireland, maybe. Yeah, so this is Phil Adams is saying, right. Rest of the world ratings will increase as they see, right. And that's the idea. That's why we're playing all these games in London town. By the way, the Jets will be playing in London week 6 against the Broncos. In case you're not following me on Twitter X, I put that out. Jets will be playing week 6, Broncos at Jets, London town, Tottenham Hotspur. That's the one with the giant cock on top of the stadium, right, Phil Adams? Tottenham Hotspur, or is it the other one? But we'll be playing them week 6 next year. But that's why they're doing all these international games, because they've pretty much maxed out the American male demographic as far as markets are concerned. And now they have to reach out to others. And that's also why, when you're trying to get the female fan base, we're trying to appeal to females, that's why the game has gotten softer over time. One of the reasons, with all these penalties, and they want to take all these kind of hits out of the game and this and that. One of the reasons they're trying to appeal to a female demographic who doesn't like those type of things as much as the guys do, generally speaking. Phil says Spain and Australia are in the cards as well. Yeah, Spain, Australia, New Zealand. There's lots of places we can go. Tanzania, outer Mongolia. So, we got to get a game in outer Mongolia. We got to get a game in, let's get a game on Mars. Let's get Elon Musk to build us a rocket to go to Mars, play on Mars. Martian Football League, the MFL. That'd be good. We got to get games in these places because we got to build up a fan base. I mean, soccer is number one worldwide by far. And so The NFL could look at that and say, well, that's an opportunity. Expose these fans everywhere else to our game, and we can get more and more fans there because we're pretty maxed out in America as far as men go. And then so they're looking at the females, and then they're looking internationally, and that's how they're trying to grow the game because that's Roger Goodell's job. That's why he makes $50 million a year. A big golden cock. Yeah, so Tottenham Hotspur Stadium's got a big golden cock on it. I mean, and whoever wins the golden cock cup. The cup of the golden cock. So that's up for um, up for winning. Yeah, soccer is a very boring game. Harlan says. I think so too, Harlan. But worldwide, people love it. I mean, you can't deny it. Worldwide, people love the soccer. I mean, nobody ever scores a goal, but people like to watch these guys run up and down a field and kick a ball and never score a goal. But that's just the way it goes because when you're looking at things as a business, you kind of have to take yourself out of it and say, okay, there's a big market for this. I may not like it myself. I don't know why these people like it, but they do. they do. So, this is the way it goes. Todd says, sorry I'm late. All right, good to see you, Todd. Hope the animals are doing okay. We're running on the backup laptop here, so we're just it's Sunday, it's Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to everyone. It's rookie mini camp time. And what we're doing since we're running on the backup laptop, we're just doing chat room Q&A. Anything you guys want to talk about, we'll chit chat over. And otherwise, it might be a quick show as I have to continue to work on my technical issues as always. But so let me know in the chat, comments, questions, topics. There's not much going on. It's Jets rookie camp, mini camp. The rookies are in town. The tryout people will be interesting to see if we sign any of these tryout people. But other than that, there's just not much going on in the NFL. Everybody's having their rookie camp, so you're seeing videos of this guy throwing a pass, that guy running around. The columns of, I will say, the columns of Zach Rosenblatt and Dick Chimney today, very boring. Really nothing, nothing in there. A little bit about Giovanni Williams, a little bit about Donovan Edwards. Looks good, but he's a running back. Of course, he looks good in this kind of an environment. Phil Adams, the only reason round ball football is popular worldwide is that it's easy to play. Well, I think in these countries, Phil, people grow up playing it. Like that's what they do. It's part of their culture. So, you think about why people are passionate about something. It's usually because when they were children, it got embedded into their heads. I mean, why are we so passionate about the Jets? Because we grew up a Jet fan. It became glued to our minds that, we love the Jets because that's what we were as kids. And then all those years reinforced it over and over and over. And now it's a passion. That's how the brain works. It's like the difference between an idea and a belief. What's the difference between an idea and a belief? Why are beliefs so powerful and ideas are just kind of like, all right, we have a lot of ideas, but we don't have a lot of beliefs. Well, the reason is because a belief is just an idea that is emotionally charged and that gets it super glued to your brain. And it's sort of the same thing with fandom. When you're a young kid, it's a lot easier for these things to get into your brain and get super glued on there. And in America, a lot of times it's football, sometimes baseball, sometimes basketball. And then it gets reinforced because you're playing those games as well as a kid and so forth and so on. And around the world, the game they play most is soccer. Now, we do play soccer here as kids, of course. There's a lot of soccer leagues and kids play a lot of soccer. I played soccer. I was a goalie. But it just never has taken off in terms of the professional sports We always used to hear all these people were going to make soccer big, like Pele was going to make soccer big, and then the Beckham guy, Bended with Beckham guy, was going to make soccer big here, and then nobody's been able to do it. And now it's Messi and all these people. But I don't know. It's really hard to once those things are ingrained in the culture. It's hard to sort of dislodge them. Todd, any news about the German strongman? No, he's here. He's got a number. I think Samini said he wasn't practicing with the other guys, so he may be just orienting. I mean, now, this German strongman, he also played for UCF, oddly. So I'd like to know more about this guy. He's Leander Weigand is his name. And he was an all-star in the European League of Football. There is a European League of Football, by the way, the ELF, that plays American-style football. No one watches it. No one cares about it. But there is, that's where he's coming from, the European League of Football. The Rhine Fire is one of the teams. And then, so I'm actually curious. He's strong. He put up like 38 on the bench, which is very, very good. And he was coached by um, a Hall of Fame offensive lineman who's coaching over there in Europe. So he has some good coaching, and he's strong, and he was an all-star in the ELF. That's all we know about him. So it'd be pretty cool if he could do something. He's an international pathway player, so we get an exemption on the roster for him. So you should always have one IPP guy. Might as well. You get a roster exemption. Why not bring him in and take a look? Doesn't hurt. Take a look. We did give him a large, relatively large sum of money. I think we gave him over 200 grand. So I think we believe in him. That doesn't mean he'll make the team or anything, but that's relatively large and just shows that there was probably competition for his services and that we thought he could do something. But that's all we got at this point in time. That's all we got at this point in time. So that's something to watch. I would say Giovanni Williams is something to watch. Donovan Edwards maybe is something to watch. But, you know. Jimmy says, we have way more options here. Worldwide, they're limited to soccer and some basketball and hockey. You wonder why internationally, well, like in Europe, there's the European League of Football. Like it's there. They play. They have the same rules pretty much that we do. But the quality of play, if you watch it on YouTube, which I have, because I'm crazy, the quality of play is low. The guys just aren't good. The quarterbacks can't throw the ball very well. It's just not great. Do they have the infrastructure? Like, why don't more of these countries play baseball, for example? Now, baseball is big, like in Japan and Taiwan and some places. Even Australia and Mexico has a nice baseball league. So baseball kind of catches on some places. Other places, not so much. So it's interesting. Some of these cultures, what catches on, what doesn't. If you live in a poor country, the beauty of a game like basketball or soccer is you can have a lot of people playing, and all you need is one ball, right? And in the case of basketball, a goal, a standing goal. Soccer, you could spray paint a goal on the floor like we did on the ground, like we did at PS207. So those, if you're poor, if you're a poor country or a poor neighborhood or whatever, those are sports football requires a lot of equipment, and baseball too, to a certain degree, and hockey. But those sports, you just need a ball and that's it, and a bunch of kids to run around. you can play a game. So those are appealing for those reasons. But other than that, I don't think anybody's really focused on like why certain things catch on. Yeah, like cricket. Oh yeah, I forgot about cricket. Like yeah, there's cricket. Phil Adams mentioned cricket. Number one watch sports on earth because 6 billion people in India watch nothing else. Yeah, that's a good case in point. Like why is cricket so popular in India? And they don't want to watch anything else. No basketball, no soccer, nothing. And cricket is kind of similar-ish to baseball. So you'd think maybe because they like cricket so much, maybe they'd also like baseball as maybe like a number 2 or 3 sport there. But maybe not. So cricket is also interesting. I mean, a lot of people watch that. I remember people playing cricket in Marine Park, actually, and watching them and going, "Oh, that looks weird," to my American eyes. Todd says he can have an effect in the weight room. Nobody likes to be embarrassed, so the other players are going to work harder. Yeah, I mean, having a guy who can put stuff up in the weight room, that's important. Hopefully, he comes in and is a hard worker and everything else. And yeah, people see, hey, we got this strong man over here. What's going on? So yeah, we'll see. But we're here on May 11th on the Coffee with Frankie show, working with backup equipment, trying out Rumble Studio. Oh, let me see if you guys can hear this song. Well, let's try this out. We got the Frankie from Flatbush song. Some people may have noticed I didn't play that today. Well, we're in Rumble Studio, and so I'm going to play it now. Tell me if you guys can hear this, because I don't think.
Frankie from Flatbush rides the Brooklyn line. Got a swagger sharp like a vintage wine. Everybody knows his name from porch to stoop. Hustle and dreams in every loop. In the park he struts, hits the handball wall. Echoes hear the stories when the shadows fall. Got 1,000 tales and a comforting grin. On the streets of Flatbush where legends begin. Frankie from Flatbush got the city glow, lighting up the borough with his every show. He's the heart of Brooklyn, never laying low. Frankie from Flatbush, always on the go. Bodega lights flicker when Frankie's near. He's got the rhythm, everybody cheers. Corner talks and sidewalk chalks his fame. In the Flatbush breeze you'll hear his name. Underneath the subway hum, the magic's real. Frankie's moves got that electric feel. From Atlantic Avenue to the urban hill, Flatbush Frankie's giving you a thrill. Frankie from Flatbush got the city glow, lighting up the borough with his every show. He's the heart of Brooklyn, never laying low. Frankie from Flatbush, always on the go. Bodega lights flicker when Frankie's near, lighting up the borough with his every show. He's the heart of Brooklyn, never laying low. Frankie from Flatbush, always on the go. Frankie from Flatbush got the city glow, lighting up the borough with his every show. He's the heart of Brooklyn, never laying low. Frankie from Flatbush, always on the go. Always on the go. Always on the go.
All right, so that's the song, so you guys could hear that. But now I'm getting a message saying stream expired. Can you guys still hear me? Why would see this Rumble Studio now? I'm sure that that can be fixed by purchasing Rumble Premium, but I think I'm gonna have to make a decision between Restream and Rumble Studio. But this thing is giving me a warning: stream expired. Can you guys still hear me? 15-yard penalties here. Happy Mother's Day. Yeah, happy Mother's Day. Jimmy says, I think it's live. That is weird. Why would they give me a stream expired message? Can hear you and see you. All right. Well, of course, there's always problems for old Frankie. Can never just do something. It'd be nice if Rumble Studio gave you a lot of features. Their problem is they want you to buy premium, and so they give you some features, But then they say, all right, but I don't know why it would give me a stream expired, but it also says live. Then it says stream expired. That is weird. Yeah, smash the like, Todd, Harlan. All right, so I guess we'll just keep going. Now, let me know if there's any other issues you guys want to discuss also. Um, because again, we're on the backup laptop. We're trying out Rumble Studio. So I'm not going to go through a bunch of news items. Biggest news item: Derek Carr um, retiring, medically retiring. Now I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to want to go to the Saints. By the way, in case anybody thinks, well, what are the Saints going to do? A quarterback? Maybe they could sign Aaron Rodgers. I don't think that's a fit there because basically because because they're not going to want to. I don't think Kellen Moore is going to want to deal with Aaron Rodgers and all of his stuff. So Jets Chaos says, Rumble Studios, do they throw you over the top rope if you stink? No. It's called Rumble. You know, it used to be this company is a weird company because it used to be that they had these videos that could that were pitted against each other, and you could vote which one you like. And so it was like a rumble of the videos. So that's how the company started. That's why it's called Rumble, because it was like a match. Do you like this video or that video? And you vote for one and not the other. And it was a rumble between the videos. Um, but that's why it's called that. But now Rumble, I would say, is probably the number one competitor for YouTube, if I had to guess right now. And of course, they got a long way to go because YouTube is gigantic. But that's why it's called Rumble, Jeremy. Chaos in the house. Did you see AR joined a Pittsburgh golf club? Havmo says. I did not see that. Now, it seems logical that he is going to Pittsburgh. I mean, and then will be interesting to see if we trade down Lazard there. I'm not seeing it on my feed at all. So I don't know if anybody had that. Let me know the source, Havmo, if you could. I have those various feeds, and I'm not seeing it on any of my feeds. Let me know what the source of that information is. Could be some prankster. But then again, he could have joined a Pittsburgh area golf club. Of course, I don't think there's any golf clubs in Pittsburgh, but it could be a Western, Pennsylvania golf club, certainly. Stoke City. See, Jets Chaos is talking about soccer. I mean, there's some Americans who actually like soccer. They like people running around a field and not scoring for some reason. So, yeah, there's markets for everything, man. There's markets for everything, but oh, yeah, this is a good question from Phil Adams. Glance around for the love of the game tutorial. So this was the Arian Smith video. I would recommend everybody watch the Arian Smith video and also the video about also the film study for Stone Smart. I am doing an extensive study on Justin Fields. So I'll tell you what I actually am doing. And I'm 4/6 of the way through. The old drive charts. I'm doing the drive charts for the 6 starts that Justin Fields had for the Steelers to understand what Arthur Smith was doing with him in Pittsburgh and maybe what worked, what didn't work, etc. What I can tell you is I am not a big fan of Arthur Smith. I can tell you that much right now. He did not run enough RPOs with Justin Fields, in my opinion. Didn't use his skill set. Way too much 13 personnel. He was running 13 personnel like 200% rate of average in the NFL. Just ridiculous. So I will say that, but I'm going to hopefully have a complete breakdown of what happened in Pittsburgh with Justin Fields, what he did well, what he didn't do well, how they used his skills, how they didn't use his skills. And so that'll be kind of the next in this series here about what we can expect in this RPO offense. So the glance routes has to do with RPO, an RPO scheme, which I'm assuming we're going to run. Pittsburgh did not run an RPO scheme. So Pittsburgh ran about 5% of their plays were RPOs. 5%. When you have Justin Fields as your quarterback, one of the most elite runners out there. So that makes no sense, in my opinion. So I am going to assume that we're going to run RPOs. So this will be sort of in that same series. I'll probably after that. So that takes a while to do because you got to watch the games. Then you got to record all the information. Then you got to put it into a database, and that's called the spreadsheet. And then you got to make some, conclusions about the data and about what you just watched. So I'm 4/6 of the way through that. And the other thing I can tell you, out of the 4 games, there's been steady improvement in the, let's just call it the success score, which is encouraging. So out of the first 4 games, it was just getting better and better and better, at least so far. Now I got to watch games 5 and 6, but that's also encouraging to show, all right, well, as a starter for Pittsburgh, started off a little slow, but then was getting, a little better and better. So that's also interesting. Jeremy says, AR going to Pittsburgh helps us. Let them finish 12-5 and be as little threat to get a quarterback over us in the draft. That's a stretch, Jeremy. Pittsburgh is probably not a threat to us for the quarterback in the draft, no matter. Just look at the history of Mike Tomlin. He's never had a losing season. So if we need a quarterback, basically, if the Fields maxing fails, which could very well happen, and we're in the top 5 for a quarterback, Pittsburgh is they're never up there. Why are we worrying about Pittsburgh being up there? And there's a lot of other teams that are usually up there. Pittsburgh's not one of them. Pittsburgh's usually in the middle or the back. Hank G says, well, the Jets are also running around the field and not scoring. Yeah, but they're trying to score. And that's why they stink. Even the best teams in soccer don't score enough, in my opinion. Avmo says, looks like Yahoo Sports report. All right, let's pull it up. Yahoo Sports is a real, outlet. So that's not some random, Twitter person. Let's look it up. Yahoo Sports. It's going to take a little while because we're on the backup laptop. Let's put NFL. Like I said, it'll take a long backup. Saints quarterback Derek Carr retiring. Shore Sanders for passes. Sean Taylor's Nick Chubb returning to Browns increasingly on the Seb. George Pickens, Browns rookie back. Patriots DC away from rookie preseason camp due to health scare. Pelissero, why the Steelers gave up on George Pickens. Mike Tomlin says, nothing to add. Which Jets do you DFAs have the best chance of contributing, with a picture of Jonathan Edwards? He's the highest rated one that we got. Jets try out Johnny Williams and Quincy on the same team. Cam Ward. I'm not seeing anything here. I would think this would be somewhere in the top. Anything Aaron Rodgers related would be pretty newsworthy, it seems like. So I'm not seeing it. I'm not currently seeing it, but maybe it's on their Twitter account or something. I'm not seeing it. But it could be out there. Who knows? Who knows? Sometimes these news items do get buried in these websites. by the way. Yeah, they're links on their web, their Twitter handle. I don't Abmo with these news items. Todd, take care of the animals. Good day, everyone. Yeah, and I think I mean I'll be very Jeremy. I'll be very disappointed if we're hanging out with Green Bean and watching the offense and they're not running on RPO heavy like 35, 45% of the time running an RPO of some kind, either a double or triple. Then I'm gonna throw my drive charts at the out the window. No, I'm gonna throw my drive charts at the screen because, like, how can you get Justin Fields and then not do that? Like, I don't understand what Arthur Smith was doing. Now you could say, well, wait a minute, they thought they were gonna have Russell Wilson be the quarterback, and so they were thinking all through training camp and preparing in training camp that it's going to be Russell Wilson, and then at the last minute he gets a calf injury, so they have so they have Justin Fields. So do you really want them to change it around? But they have RPOs in the game plan. They did run them, and by the way, when he's in the low red zone in these games, and they do run an RPO, guess what happens? He takes it and runs it in the freaking end zone. So you'd think Arthur Smith would be like, well, maybe we should run more of those. It's not like they didn't have them in the playbook. So it's weird, and I have to say I'm not very fond of Arthur Smith after watching all this. In terms of his ability to adapt. He seems to be very stubborn and just we do what we do type of coach, which I hate. You know, I think we all hate that. But if we do that and he still can't play, then I mean, at some point you just got to say, all right, this guy, he's just, he can't do it. No, Harlan makes a good point. Aaron Glenn has never had a losing season either as a head coach, I assume you mean. Yeah, if you do not play, you cannot lose. If you do not play the game, you cannot lose the game. That's true, Harlan. Very true. Phil Adams Steelers have a nice little Pickens pick to use on a trade up next year. They have actually a lot of picks next year for some reason. They're anticipating a lot of comp picks, and then they have this trade. I think they maybe made another trade, but they've stockpiled a bunch of picks next year. Now, what the Steelers they did acquire Will Howard in the 6th round, so maybe he could do something, or maybe they want to trade up. Yeah, this is a good thought by Phil Adams. They could trade up to get that core. I mean, look, if I think the Steelers are going to be, if the Steelers don't make the playoffs next year, I think the fans have had it with Tomlin. By the way, like we on the outside can say that's crazy. But the fans are going to go crazy. I'm telling you, the Yinzers are going to go nuts about Tomlin. Get this guy out of here. So that could, if Tomlin gets fired, Omar Khan is probably safe. But if Tomlin gets fired, that is going to be something very unusual happening because that would mean the Steelers are in the market for a head coach for the first time in a billion gajillion years. And one of the best head coaches in football history is unemployed. So who wants to who wants to fire their head coach to pick up Mike Tomlin? Who could that be? So there's going to be a lot of uncertainty around the Steelers if this season doesn't work out. Let's assume it's Rodgers. I mean, either way, how many is Rodgers going to give them 2 years? But no, probably not. He's probably got one, if any, in him. And then if it fails, if it falls apart, then they're in the quarterback market. Obviously, they have Will Howard. They have Mason Rudolph, who they seem to love more than anybody, but that's a Tomlin thing. So, yeah, they could be desperate. And I would say if it doesn't work, and if the Steelers don't make some noise in the playoffs this year, the Steelers could be desperate. Omar Khan could be desperate. Mike Tomlin could get fired. it could be a very interesting situation in Pittsburgh, and they could very well trade up and try to get one of these quarterbacks. Now, we also don't know which of these quarterbacks, other than basically Drew Aller, who I think is out of options. I don't think any, these other quarterbacks may not come into the draft. So it may not be Arch Manning, may not be Lenora Sellers, may not be some of these people. So you also have to figure out who comes into the draft to know if it's a strong quarterback draft or not. They could go back to Mason Rudolph with a backup of Will Howard next year, the year after. I mean, and then draft a guy in the second round or something. I don't know. Trying to project out for a year from now is, kind of crazy. Arlen says you don't have to trade up to get a player. Yeah, the Packers, but that's pretty unusual. The same thing happened with Jordan Love, although they traded up for Jordan Love, and then Jordan Love stunk for a while until he developed. He had to develop. Charles is here. So happy you're talking about my favorite team. What team is that? Jimmy says, I found it on Yahoo Sports too. All right. Well, man, I can't seem to find it, but that doesn't mean it's not here. Could be somewhere. Let's go to the NFL news page. Let's see if it's on the news page. Generally, there is news on the front page, but if we go to the news page, maybe it'll be there. Shador Sanders, Omar Khan, Derek Carr. There's a couple of stories about Bill Belichick's girlfriend. Just fun. Brooks. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. I don't know. Could be somewhere, but I'm not seeing it. But no matter what, Rodgers is probably going there. I mean, I'm kind of shocked that it's taken him this long. He doesn't seem that into coming back. I mean, he doesn't seem that into it. I mean, at his age, it's one thing, when you're in your mid 30s and you're at the top of your game and you skip the OTAs and all this stuff, but going to a new team and waiting this long, and it just doesn't seem like he's into it, to be honest. Yeah, that's what I think too, Harlan. Like if you have like it's surprising to me that they went to Fields. Wilson had this calf injury; it was pretty serious. He missed 6 games. So they had to go to Fields. I mean, I don't see why they couldn't have called a higher percentage. I'm literally tracking the percent of plays that are RPOs on these games, and they're at like 5%. So, and I think the highest game was like 9%. So they never even got to 10% in any of the games, at least that I've watched so far. And it's odd to me. They have the plays in the playbook. Obviously, they call them 5% of the time. But why didn't you call them more, especially in the low red zone? All right. So Phil says, I feel Fields will do well because AG and the O line will give the dude the love he needs. Yeah. I mean, that's why we did what we did. We're Fields maxing, so it's sort of like similar in a way to the situation that Mike McDaniel had. He went down there and loved him up basically after Brian Flores abused him essentially, right? And made the think about what Mike McDaniel did down there. He made the playbook and like he established a personal connection with Tua, and then he made the playbook and the plays that he called to the things that Tua does well and took out the stuff he doesn't do well. And look what happened. He did really well. So the yeah, and it's sort of the same thing here. We think now we have to see what Engstrand has in mind. We don't know exactly, but hopefully it's the same idea. And you see with their actions. So in other words, we did not draft a quarterback, like I said we would not do. So that I got right. I said we're Fields maxing. We're not going to draft any quarterbacks in this draft at any time, and we're going to sign a UDFA. That's exactly what happened. Why? Because we're trying to fields max. We're fields maxing. We're maxing out Justin Fields. We're trying to. Jets Chaos says, do you think an RPO makes our depth of wide receiver less of an issue? Yes. And Mason and Breeze for checkdowns. Absolutely. Watch my video on the Arian Smith role, Jeremy, and you'll see exactly why we don't need high grade wide receivers. It explains the whole thing. We have our room is fine. First of all, Slim Sticky. People are underestimating Slim Sticky. That's Reynolds, Josh Reynolds. His Frankie nickname is Slim Sticky. So he's fine for a wide receiver too in this offense. And then you have a bunch of role players because there's not going to be. How many times do you think we're going to throw the ball, Jeremy? That's the other thing. 25 or so. We're not going to throw it 40 times like we did with Rodgers. We're not. We're going to be ground and pound. So that means we're not throwing that much. So 25 attempts, 12 are going to Garrett. Then 5 or 6 are going to Brees. And then everybody else has to split up the rest. I mean, it's going to, when you're ground and pound, you're not, waiting. You're not waiting for wide receivers to run their fancy routes down the field with, with all this stuff. It's not going to be a wide receiver centric system. But the good news is Garrett will get a lot of targets and he'll get a lot of volume. And same for Brees. But then everybody else is just going to play their roles. And one of the roles is going to be to clear people out, which is one thing that Arian Smith and Tyler Johnson and certain people are going to do. Breaking news, Jeremy just spoke with the club at Nevillewood. Wayne Chirazzi said Aaron Rodgers did not join. So there you go. The rumor has been refuted. Oh, see? Just a rumor, guys. No wonder it's not on the Yahoo Sports page. Rich Walsh of WDKAE has fired back at the alleged rumor. This rumor is not true. Boy, oh boy. So Charles says, for the record, when other teams win Super Bowls are big games, it's not a big deal to me because my team doesn't. Let's go about looking. I'm not sure what you're getting at here, Charles. Sorry. So anyway, we got the refuted rumor of Slim Sticky. Yeah, I call Josh Reynolds Slim Sticky. He's slim and he has good hands. Slim Sticky. So he's perfect for wide receiver too in this offense for what we need. Will the real Sticky please stand up? Yeah, and not drop passes. NYC Sport. We'd love to see Mason Taylor getting about 5 targets a game. Yeah, 4 or 5 targets. Yeah, that's realistic. Sport. That's realistic. Charles says, I want to see adjustments during the game. Yeah, we can have adjustments. That's definitely allowed by the rules. Mo said, nah, I'm on backup equipment. I have most of them going to be able to do what I normally do. I'm barely getting the stream. It expired, and it didn't expire. So I mean, let's keep it simple, people. All right, let's keep it simple. I can't do advanced things like Googling stuff. I mean, we're lucky to get through this goddamn live stream. Rumble Studios telling me it expired. I got. You want me to Google stuff? I can barely get through a live stream without things breaking. Habmo, you feel me? So I do have X up here. Risking it. And I have my news feeds. I got the Jet beat writers. Nobody's saying anything about it. And then I got the national writers on another list. Nobody's saying anything about that either. And you'd think somebody would be saying something about it. Aaron Rodgers is a lightning rod for media attention. I mean, they're talking about former Raiders senior personnel advisor Sean Herrick expected to join the Browns personnel department, blah, blah, blah. I mean, they're coming out with some really weird news items here because there's just nothing going on. So you would think anything having to do with Aaron Rodgers, somebody would say something about it on this feed, which is all the national writers, the national NFL writers. And nobody's saying anything about it, as far as I can tell. But I'm not getting fancy and Googling stuff, Havmo. I don't have that capacity. Jeremy says, it doesn't matter if AR is a Steeler or not. He's way past his time and simply name at this point. Yeah, but we do play them. So that'll make for interesting television if he's on the team. If not, then I guess it's Mason Rudolph time. I think people should really start putting some odds on if it's not Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh. Who is it? Mason Rudolph? Will Howard? Skylar Gray, the Thompson gunner? I mean, who is it? Rumble is lying. You're still live. A little choppy in freeze bean way, but still live. One of these days, we're going to actually have like real equipment, like real. What I need to do is what happened is I bought the laptop that's not being used now is supposed to be a souped up, amazing, incredible laptop, and it's not performing like it's supposed to. So I have to actually go back to the manufacturer, figure out what's going on with that. Maybe they send me a new one. Who knows? But otherwise, then I got to buy probably like a real desktop, which is $2,000-$3,000. Another expenditure, and get this thing squared away so that we can do all the things that we want to do, and not anything we don't want to do. So, that's where we're at in the Frankie from Flatbush headquarters. And all the stuff behind me that you see, all these things, we're converting this into, of course, an audiobook studio. So there's all kinds of equipment over there. And that stuff's working just fine, by the way. This microphone right here is working like a champ. So that's some good news. Doesn't have anything to do with the Jets content, but hey. Freezy Jeezy. Yeah, it's always something, Jeremy. I mean, it's just always something. Like, we just can't have a perfect live stream. It's either the audio goes out, the video goes out, the laptop decides to explode, the internet goes out, something happens. All right, so let me know if there's anything else on your mind, you guys. We're obviously not doing the normal newsy stuff. And let me know any other topics. We've been on for about an hour. It's Rumble Studios telling me the stream expired. It didn't expire. I mean, I don't know what's going on. Well, that's nothing new. But let me know if there's any other topics you want to cover. Otherwise, I'll continue my Justin Fields study with my drive charts, and I'll have all sorts of charts and graphs and stuff like that. I'll be team hummus. Choppy is fine. Old Bean did some of his best work from the RV parks in the middle of the woods. Remember that? Green Bean's kind of weird in that, he loves the Jets, obviously. He's the Jets historian. He has all this knowledge about the Jets. But then he also has an intense, insane amount of knowledge about roller coasters. Like, what? That's an odd pairing. The Jets and roller coasters. Well, Frankie, you're kind of weird with the Jets and audiobooks. Yeah. Weird birds. So let me know if there's any other topics. I mean, we're in the middle of rookie minicamp. There's not a lot going on. I mean, the most interesting stories are pretty much, can Giovanni Williams do anything? The 234th best linebacker in the nation last year. But brother to Q and Q, so maybe he could do something. Can what about Jamarcus Weston? What about some of these people? Can any of the tryout people latch on, get a contract? Other than that, there's really not a lot going on. Yeah, the Jets is a roller coaster. I mean, it's a roller coaster, but not a really a roller coaster of winning. The winning is just always the same level is like pretty low. Yeah. So that's where we are. All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up for today. Thanks for joining on this Sunday. Uh, Give the video a thumbs up. Why not? If you're new here, please subscribe to the channel. Consider joining the Inner Circle where you get exclusive items. And I'll see you next week for coffee with Frankie at 10 a.m. and maybe some videos this week if I do finish my Justin Fields study and I have the charts and graphs and information and observations ready. But always remember, Arthur Smith is a big dum-dum. See you guys.